Every pledge is a bailment, but every bailment is not a pledge. Bailment is a special contract which is defined under section 148. The bailee shall be held responsible if he did not take care of the factors of handling the goods. Good morning and welcome to the fourth session in Unit 3 Commercial Law, where we are going to talk about bailment and pledge. Now this is a very important concept. Why? Because bailment and pledge is actually meant to be a factor. They are two special contracts altogether which is actually used at every important stage altogether. Now every pledge is a bailment, but every bailment is not a pledge at any given point of time. So that's very, very important. So what does bailment means to us is it's the delivery of goods that we are talking about here from one person to another person, and this is something for a very special purpose. When pledge means that delivery of goods as a security factor here altogether. So whenever this happens, bailment and pledge are two important different contracts for us altogether. Now moving on, we need to understand where is this bailment actually defined. A bailment is a special contract which is defined under section 148 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. Now it is derived from a French word bailor, which means to deliver. So how does this bailment comes into picture? So one person agrees to say that yes, I will give as a bailor, which means I'll go ahead and deliver the goods altogether. The etymological meaning of bailment is handling over or change of possession of goods, which means to say that the goods will be taken care from one end to the other end. So you are going to take the goods from one person and deliver the goods to another person. So that is where this bailment comes into picture. Now bailment means that delivery from one person to another for a special purpose. So there is a contract that they shall reimburse the goods on the fulfillment of purpose or dispose them as per the direction of the bailor. Suppose the bailment is being given in such a condition that the goods will be carried on from one point to another based on a specific purpose. So upon the fulfillment of the conditions, the payment shall be done. Or suppose they will dispose as per the direction of the bailor altogether. So this is a very, very important contract that we are talking about. Now let's move further. There shall be a contract between the parties for the delivery of goods. The goods shall be delivered for a special purpose only. Bailment can be done for movable goods and not for immovable goods or money. There shall be a transfer of possession of the goods altogether. Now let's look into this factor here very, very clearly. It says that there shall be a contract. Now what is a contract? Between the parties for delivery of good. Now if you look into Amazon, Flipkart as an example here, we are placing our orders through Amazon or Flipkart. Flipkart in turn, what they will do is that they will go and place the order to the person who is selling. Now what is happening here is that the contract is actually between the seller and the buyer. Amazon or Flipkart is the intermediate. They fulfill the needs of the person. Now the goods shall be delivered for a special purpose. Now when we are talking about a bailment here, let's look for a specific purpose. I have something which is very sensitive, which is very confidential. So what do? I am going to deliver that goods through a specific agent to a specific person who is going to deliver it to my client who's located in some other place. Now here what will happen, bailment can be done only for the movable goods and not for immovable assets at all. Followed by, there shall be a transfer of possession. So from my end, the goods shall be transferred to the client's end altogether. So that's what we are going to say, the transfer or the possession of goods altogether. Followed by, ownership is not transferred to the bailee, therefore bailer remains the owner. Ownership is never given to the bailee. That means the goods that is going to be given from the bailer, that's from me to my client. My client will not hold the responsibility. He doesn't become the owner of that goods. I will still own the possession of the goods. The ownership will be still with the hands of the bailer only, not with the bailee. Followed by, bailee is duty bound to deliver the goods, same goods back and not any other goods. Suppose my client says that I am not happy with the goods that you have sent it to me. They are not in proper condition. They are not of the standards which I wanted. Now it is the responsibility of my client that the bailee should return back the goods to me under the same condition that has been promised. He cannot return something else in for this. So that will not be considered. He cannot take some other good, pack it and then send it across. So I am sending him a specific document or I am sending him a specific product. The same product or the document should be returned back to me and he cannot replace it with any other document or product. Now the most important exception that comes here is money deposited in the bank shall not to account to the bailment, as the money returned by the bank would not be the same identical notes. Now that's a different thing. So the same notes which you are given, I want it back, that cannot be taken in. What can be looked in? The amount can be looked in factor there. So that becomes very, very important for all of us to look in here. So that's why we will go in for this particular factor. And it is one of the essentials of the bailment that the same goods shall be delivered back. The same goods have to be delivered back. So it is important that the same goods are taken and they are delivered back under the same condition or the same level as far as possible. Moving, let's try to first understand what are the duties of a bailer here. Now this is very, very important for all of us to understand. Why? Because what are the duties are we talking? As a bailer, what is that we are looking into? Now we know that in our Indian section law and act that there are different phenomena, different factors altogether under which we do the business. So it is not mandatory for all of us that we will follow the same pattern of business. Now when you look into a delivery business, when you look into a logistics business, there are so many factors and processes that are involved in terms of the delivery, in terms of doing things. So the duties of the bailer, the person who is sending the document, who is sending the product to a client, there are certain specific duties which he needs to follow, which he needs to take up at any given point of time. So it becomes very, very important for all of us to understand this before even we get into the business of supply. What is that? Section 150 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 bound the bailer with certain duties to disclose the latent, to disclose the bailee, the person to whom the facts pertaining to the defect in the goods. Bailer's duties of disclosure. Now we will talk about it. Before even we send that goods to the client, we have to tell very, very clearly what are the pros and cons that are involved in that good or in that particular document, whatever we are sending it to him. So the movable asset which I am going to send to my client, I have to tell him very clearly about the conditions, the preset conditions, under what levels the goods are there, what are all the characteristic features of the goods. Then only I need to send him. It is not that I can give him a surprise or I can tell him that it will be there. You just open the packet and see it's going to be an all surprise for you. No, that cannot be taken at any point as a consideration at all. So why we need to look here is that we have to first look into what is the bailor's duty of the disclosure. First thing, we talk about the gratuitous bailment altogether. It is the duty of the bailor to disclose all the defects of the goods that he is aware to the bailee that can interfere with the use of goods or can expose him to the extraordinary risk. So whatever are the extraordinary factors of risk, that has to be told. And failure to do the same, the bailor will be made liable for the damages. Who is going to now take the liability? The bailor. In case if I don't go ahead and expose all the factors to my client, I take everything into confidence, into advantage position, and I just go ahead and say that everything is accepted, sir, that's all is the good, and I just send it to him, and my client finds out there is a damage in the mobile, there is a damage in the laptop, there is a damage in the goods which I sent it to him, then I need to take the responsibility of compensating it back. So it becomes the liability of the bailor for all the damages of the goods that has been sent. Followed by non-gratuitous. Now, non-gratuitous bailment for reward. Now, how does this come into picture? This duty particularly deals with the goods given on hire purchase. So, whenever you are looking in for a hire purchase business, we will be talking about the non-gratuitous bailment factor coming into picture. This says that as per the provision, when the goods are bailed for hire, so when the goods are taken in for hire purpose, then there is a situation, even if the bailor is aware of the defect in the goods, that he will not be held liable for the injury, or that he will not be caused due to the existence of such defect. Now, this is very, very important for all of us to understand. This duty particularly deals with the goods that are given on the hire purchase. So what we try to do, as per the provision, when the goods are bailed, the goods are being given in for the hire, then there's a situation if the bailor is aware of the defect, the bailor knows that there is some problem in the goods, or will not be held liable for the injury. Why? Because that has been caused due to the existence of such defect, even though there is a factor, because it is a non-gratuitous position, the bailor cannot be held responsible for the damage. Now, in the case of Hyman versus Nye Sons 3, which happened a case long time back, the plaintiff took the carriage on hire from the defendant, but the carriage was not fit for the journey. Subsequently, the plaintiff suffered the injury altogether. The court held that even though the defendant was aware of such defect altogether, but he shall not be held liable at any factor. Why? Because it becomes the duty of the person who's taking that hire that he should have first gone through. That is his moral responsibility to understand while taking the hire purchase whether things are in proper condition, whether these goods can be taken up for a hire or not. Suppose he has not checked it into it, suppose he has not understood that, and he has just gone further in terms of taking up the factor, then he shall be held responsible for that. So it becomes very, very important that we go through this, we understand the situation, and then we take it up, or else this will not be considered to be fit at all. So please understand that at any given point of time, it becomes his liability to check up and take the things on time. Followed by a bailee has to fulfill several obligations as per the Indian Contract Act of 1872. That is, first one is duty to take a responsible or a reasonable care altogether. What is that? It is a duty of the bailee, not the bailer. It's a duty of the bailee to take care of the goods as his own goods. So moment he takes it in, that is his possession goods altogether. He shall ensure all the safety measures that are necessary to protect the goods. So moment you buy a laptop, it becomes the duty of the person to take care of the laptop. You should know where to keep the laptop, how to safeguard the laptop from any incidental damages that are occurring altogether. The standard of the care should be taken as much by a prudent man. When I use this word prudent man, that means to say that that person should understand as a common man, using the common sense factor, how I need to take care of the laptop. Suppose I keep the laptop at the edge of the table, it falls and breaks. I should have understood that I should not keep it on the edge of the table. I should have kept it at the center of the table. I should keep a proper soft cushion under the laptop so that no damages occur. I should not throw the laptop in the water and then claim for damages. So what do I basically say here is that the common man understanding about the product should be clear enough. Then the goods should be taken care equally, whether they are gratuitous or non-gratuitous. So on the bailee part, the basic understanding about the product should always be there. He cannot take things into advantages or in a an understanding position that whatever happens automatically I will be bailed out, I will be getting the benefit. No, it is the common understanding for this person that yes, I need to take care of the product sincerely, like any other common factor, whatever that has been given to me under possession, so that I am able to look after the products better and I don't go into a compensatory mode altogether. Followed by the bailee shall be held responsible for the payment of the compensation if he fails to take the due care. This is where I look into the picture very clearly. Now, when moment you are buying a glass item, it is written fragile, handle with care, which means it is already given by the company that for the person who is buying a glass article or an item, you need to handle it with care. If I don't handle it with care, I leave it loose, it falls down and it breaks. Now, it is not the responsibility of the company to come back and make the payment. It is the responsibility of the person that he should have taken care of the glass items. So, that is what we say, the bailee shall be held responsible if he did not take care of the factors of handling the goods. So, he will be responsible for the compensation. But if the bailee has taken care with due care and instead of the goods are damaged in such a situation, then the bailee can go ahead and claim it on the bailer. He'll say that, sir, I am not responsible. It's the responsibility of the company. That is why we will go ahead and claim. The bailee not liable for loss of goods due to destruction of fire. In case of accidental fire or anything happening, the bailee shall not be liable for the loss. So he will not be liable for the loss that is caused by the destruction of fire, which is given under the section 151 and 152. So it's been clearly told the bailee shall not be liable for the loss factor altogether. Now, the duty continues not to make unauthorized use of goods. Now, this is very, very important. The bailee is duty bound to use the goods for a specific purpose why he has taken it. Suppose he makes any unauthorized use, then what will happen? So that's why we say you are bound to use the goods for a specific purpose only and not otherwise. Not take the goods, break it and make something out of it, not making an illegal use here and then getting into trouble altogether. If he uses the goods for any other purpose other than the specific nature, that is what agreed upon, then the bailer has the right to terminate. He will say that, sir, now it is not my headache. Now it is not my responsibility. We had told you clearly what is the purpose of this particular product. Now, you use knife for cutting vegetables, but if you use the knife and murder somebody, now that is not the job of the bailer, that's not the job of the company. I order knives from Amazon or that seller who's going to sell the knife, he sends to me in good faith that I'm going to make use of it for a good purpose. I use the knife of the company and I murder somebody. Now the company cannot be held responsible for my act. So that's what we try to say, that the bailer will not be held responsible for the act of the bailee who tries to do something which is not even mentioned or specified altogether. So in that case, the compensation or damage due to unauthorized use will not come into picture, which is being told under the section 153 and 154. So one has to be very, very careful about that usage of goods, how he has used the good, under what purpose he has used the good. So all those factors have to be mentioned very clearly here, followed by the duty not to mix the bailer's good with his own good. Now there is already an old item. I get a new item from the company. If I mix the good, is it acceptable? Absolutely not. Why? Because it is the duty of the bailee not to mix the bailer's good with his own goods. That is not recommended at all. But if he wants to do the same, then he shall seek the consent. You have to ask permission from the company saying that, can I mix your goods and my goods together? If the bailer agrees upon mixing the goods, in the interest of the mixed goods shall be changed according to that position. But in case where the bailee without the consent mixes the bailer of goods altogether, in two situations arise. Then there are two factors. Goods can be separated and goods that cannot be separated. Now, physical goods can be separated, and suppose if it's a liquid, it is a chemical which cannot be separated coming into picture. Now, in that case, what will happen is that bailee has to bear the cost of separation, and in the latter case, since there is a loss of goods, bailer shall be entitled for the damage of the loss. So in first case, what we are seeing, that if it can be separated, bailee has to go back, take the cost of separation and come back to normalcy. In the other case, even it cannot be separated and this person has done it, then the bailer shall be held responsible for it. Where will you find the justification for it? You need to go to section 155 and 157 in the Indian Contract Act, which clearly tells about the factors on the duties of the bailer. Now, the duty to return the goods on the fulfillment of the purpose, this is very, very important. Why? Because bailer, or the factor here is that the bailee is duty bound to return the goods once the purpose is achieved or on the expiry of the time period for which the goods are bailed. So, but if the bailee makes a default after utilizing the good, if you are not going to return it back at any point of time to that person, then the bailee shall be held responsible for the loss, destruction and deterioration of the goods. I have hired the goods for a specific purpose and I tell the bailer that I shall return the goods back to you after 6 months. Upon the completion of 6 months, if I didn't return the goods, so the bailee shall be held responsible for all the mistake, deterioration of goods, breaking of goods, or all the damages that has taken place. So that's where the duties of the bailer comes into position. Followed by, in the case of Bank of India versus Grains and Gunny Agencies, which took place, the court held that if the goods are lost or destroyed due to negligence of the servant of the bailee, then in such case as well as the bailee shall be held responsible. So the bank went ahead and proved in this case very clearly, because of the negligence of your worker, the loss of goods happened. The bailee shall be held responsible and not the the bailer. So in that case, the bailee has to pay back the compensation to the bank altogether. Followed by the duties of the bailer here. To deliver, the bailer duty increases of profit if the goods are bailed. Now we have to see this. The bailee has a duty to return the goods along with the increase in the profit subjected to the contract. Now there is an accretion that's coming in, that's accrued from the bail of goods, or a part of it that is being taken into it. The bailer has got the right over such accretion. So in that case, the bailer will get the rights in saying that, yes sir, if there is going to be any excess of profit, I have the rights to take it away from you. And such accretions shall be handed over to the bailer according to the goods that is being bailed. For instance, A leaves the cow in custody of B and the cow gives birth to a calf. Now what happens here is that B is duty bound to hand over the bailer the cow and the calf together. He cannot say that, sir, you gave me only the cow, now I'll keep the calf away. That is not accepted. You have to give the cow and the calf. Why? Because the bailer has the rights to take over in the profits. Now, as such, let's understand, in the contract of the Indian Contract Act of 1872 does not provide the rights of the bailer, but the rights of the bailer is similar to the duties of the bailer. So we say rights of the bailer is equal to duties of the bailer. So first one is enforcer of the bailee's duty. Since the rights of the bailer is same as that of the bailee, the fulfillment of the duty of the rights come into picture. Right to claim the damages if the bailee fails to take care of the goods altogether. Bailer will have the right to claim that particular duty, particular loss altogether here. Followed by right of termination of the contract. If the bailee does not comply with the terms of the contract and it's negligent in nature, such case the bailer has the right to rescind the contract. The bailer will go ahead and say that, since I found that you are not going ahead with the terms of the contract, you are not complying to the rules and regulation, I will terminate the contract. Right to claim compensation. If the bailee uses the goods for any unauthorized purpose, the bailer shall go ahead and claim a compensation, saying that since you have not used the goods as per the authorization, as per the note, I can go ahead and claim the compensation. Right to demand the return of goods. From the bailee, the bailer has the rights to compensate, take back the goods. He has the command. He can say that I have the right to demand the return of goods. So at any point of time, the bailer will have a right over the bailee, saying that please return back my goods. With that, I come to the end of this session. I hope and believe that all the important information that has been spoken through this session will be of a great help and resource to you. In the upcoming session, we shall see further about the rights of the agencies and the other factors in commercial law. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.